It seems like the Israeli campaign to alienate Turkey from the West and push the United States to go to war with Turkey is happening and pretty effectively. So Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU, stated today, clumping up Turkey along with Russia and China. She stated that she made a statement, and it's now drawing massive condemnation. And she stated here that, quote, "We must succeed in completing the European continent so that it is not shaped by Russian, Turkish, or Chinese influence." This is the first time that Turkey was placed alongside the same category as Russia or China, a systemic threat. Now, I mean, I really need you guys to understand this. Turkey is a NATO member state. Turkey's army is one of the main things that NATO heavily relies on, just given the size of Turkey's military. Aside from the United States, that's one of the main reasons why Turkey is part of NATO. It's not an EU member state, but it is a NATO member state, and she's putting Turkey now in the same category as Russia or China. And aside from that, what I find so interesting here is the Europeans should be very happy that Turkey remains a stable country. It's actually in Europe's best interest to make sure that Turkey remains a stable country, because Turkey is the wall that blocks off the Middle East from Europe. And whenever there is a conflict in the Middle East that Israel started, and the massive amount of displacement and refugees that Israel causes across the Middle East, across its bombing campaign, you know what countries end up absorbing the refugees? It can't be other Middle Eastern countries, because the United States and Israel have already bombed them all. So it's not like if there's a war, for example, in Syria, many refugees can safely go, I don't know, to Libya anymore, because of the fact that Libya has been destroyed. So Turkey has been absorbing a massive amount of refugees. They took in a massive amount of Syrian refugees, and they continuously take in a massive amount of refugees. So it really is the wall. It is the barrier. It is the wall between Europe and the Middle East. But now all of a sudden, it seems like there is this campaign, and they're stating that they have to worry about the Turkish threat. What's the Turkish threat? Well, since when was there a Turkish threat? What exactly is Turkey doing that is a threat to the EU? There is no Turkish threat. So the EU had to basically save face after this. And this is Bloomberg stating, the European Union sought to ease tensions with Turkey after a European Commission president named the country alongside Russia and China, creating the impression that the NATO partner was seen as a potential threat. Why would she state this? Genuinely, why would she state this? It's not, I can't imagine. I'm trying to understand the thought process there. Is there something I don't know? If you are European, actually, I would appreciate it. If there's something that I don't know about Turkey, and you want to tell me at least what you think it is, please let me know in the comments. And even if you don't believe it, but you know that it's the mainstream talking point that the right uses now in Europe, please let me know in the comments, because I do want to understand what is the talking point. I'm missing the talking point. Since what has this been a talking point? Is this now all of a sudden, since this massive Israeli propaganda campaign started? Since when was there ever a Turkish threat? If you know what this right-wing talking point is that they're now pushing, this, let me know what it is, because I'm pretty clueless to this. It seems it's absolutely ridiculous. So the European Union sought to ease tensions with Turkey after European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen named the country alongside Russia and China. At an event in Hamburg, the newspaper on Sunday, von der Leyen was describing her support for EU enlargement and said that the bloc must succeed in completing the European continent so that it is not influenced by Russia, Turkey, or China. What is Turkey? What? Oh, the comments were picked up by the Turkish state-run news agency Anadolu Agency. The reference to Turkey, this is what the EU said to kind of save face, was recognition of its geopolitical clout, size, and ambition, not least in the Western Balkans, and not meant as a comparison with any other country. The chief spokesperson for the EU's executive arm stated, clarifying earlier remarks. Turkey is unquestionably an important partner in the region, both economically and politically, especially on issues like migration. Exactly. That is exactly what the EU should be thankful for when it comes to Turkey. She added, also noting that the country is an EU candidate and an important NATO ally. It came at an awkward moment when the bloc is seeking to shore up geopolitical relations as the impact of the U.S. war with Iran deepening global volatility. I mean, this is absolutely insane. I really, this is what the EU is saying to save face, but I question whether or not they actually believe it. Now, what I will say is I've spent some time in Greece. I've been traveling a lot this year for just some different things I'm doing with the flotilla. I've been hopping around the Mediterranean. So I've spent some time in Greece, and I've met a lot of Greek people. The Greek people themselves are, I'd say, pretty supportive of Palestine. I'd maybe like 60-40 in support, maybe even 70-30. Correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely, I'd say the majority. However, the government is now aligning more with Israel. But when it comes to Greece, what I have noticed is that when it comes to Greece-Turkish relationship, there is that rival. I don't even know if I would call it rivalry. I might just say there is animosity and even enemy view there. I've spoken to Greek Uber drivers, and they would like rant to me about the 1922 massacre, and they would bring up a lot of historical things. So I question now, if they're stating, if something like Ursula von der Leyen is stating this, if it has anything to do with how some EU member states feel, how Greece feels about the situation and its relations with Turkey and surrounding countries like Greece, Cyprus. I wonder if it's a bit of that. Is it truly just because now we're starting to hear a little bit of talk against Turkey, and there are people there are political leaders that are actually taking what the Israelis say and they're actually absorbing it. This is seriously this is threatening to global peace, not just global peace. This is just a threat. This is a massive threat. Yeah, I guess to global peace and everything else. This is a massive threat. It needs to be squashed. The talk about it needs to be squashed. The idea and I'm first off, I'm all for free speech. What I mean though is we have to call out this we have to just simply call out the propaganda, because what they're doing is they're trying to normalize an upcoming war. So if we don't call this out now and we let them if we let this fester, they're trying to normalize the next war of the West, which is Turkey. That will be the war that will actually kill the West. It will kill the West if that war ever happened. Personally, I think that I don't want to ever say the word impossible, because Israelis have done a great job. The Israel mob has done a great job at destroying countries and figuring out ways to, scheming behind the scenes, manipulating situations in order to get what it wants. And that would include Turkey. So do I believe that Israel would actually go to war with Turkey? No. Do I believe that Israel is going to start using the Mossad to cause civil unrest in Turkey if it helps advance its interests, or to do something that would lead to a change in government in Turkey? Absolutely. If they're not already, absolutely. This is the Israeli way. They infiltrate, sabotage, corrupt, destroy. This is the Israeli way when it comes to countries in the region. That is known. So the fact that this is happening now, if it's not stopped, they're just going to continuously see how much they can do. You know what I saw recently? Political leader, is it Senator Rick Scott of Florida? He made a post on social media talking about Turkey, stating that Turkey Turkey the Turkish people are daydreaming about the idea of ever getting U.S. Military warplanes because of the fact of Turkey's relationship with Israel. They're stating that they're basically laughing about it. Here, let me go ahead and actually pull that up, because I thought it was the most insane thing. This is coming now just few days after, maybe a few weeks after this propaganda campaign against Turkey started, and now we have just a foolish U.S. senator already absorbing the Israeli propaganda. But I mean, Rick Scott is 1-in-1 with he's a Zionist through and through. I mean, he's so Zionist. This guy is supporting Laura Loomer. He's constantly reposting her, constantly sharing her. If you scroll through Rick Scott's social media, his entire thing, so much of it is just simply about Israel. And I want to see how long ago, I don't know how often this guy is posting, where he made a post straight out calling Turkey. So what we're seeing now is we're starting to see Zionists in the West already starting to normalize the idea of this anti-Turkish sentiment. And it's coming from Zionists like Laura Loomer. Let's see if maybe I could just search it up. And also, fun fact about Rick Scott. I lived in Florida for a little bit. I've kind of hopped around all over the place, and I thought, why don't I just email Rick Scott? So I actually emailed Rick Scott a while, I'd say like 6 months ago, and I basically, and it was a respectful email. It wasn't like me just like I wasn't cursing him out or yelling or anything like that, and I was just like questioning his support for Israel and potential like focus actually on Israeli settler violence. This is when I was really working. This was over a year ago when I was working with with lawyers to push for sanctions, and he responded back to me in an email about months later. So I'm surprised Rick Scott would ever respond back to me, but he did, or at least his office did, or whatever. The response back was literally basically a 3-page letter on how much Rick Scott loves supporting Israel and working with Jewish Zionist communities, and how he'll always stand by Israel, and basically telling me to piss off. So that's Rick Scott for you guys. But here, this is what I was looking for. Turkey, the country that funds Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, hates Israel, loves Russia and Iran. Good luck getting the F-35, F-16, and any other American-made defense platform. I told Erdogan in 2018, and I tell him again, you're not getting the F-35. Rick Scott, truly, you look like a ghoul. He looks like a skeleton. He's probably one of the most terrifying faces to look at. But aside from that, I don't want to just, trash this guy for his looks. It genuinely, this is coming just a few days after this push. It's coming just it's just coming days after this push, after he sees enough Laura Loomer content, then he starts bringing it up. Look, now he's talking about Hassan Piker here 6 hours ago. What is he saying here? Let's take a listen.
Yale University invited a guy by the name of Hassan Piker to their university to spew obvious hatred towards Jews, Israel, me, capitalists, America, with your tax dollars. So I don't believe any of your tax dollars, not a penny, should go to Yale University when they support an individual like this. Yale University.
Hassan Piker, oh my God, this I really want to keep this video focused on Turkey, but Hassan Piker, it doesn't matter how many times this guy says he has no issue with Jewish people, and he consistently repeats that, consistently calls that out. It doesn't matter how many times he says that, these talking heads will always immediately go to he hates Jewish people. It's to the point now, it's really, that's all you have to say, anything else. So that's who Rick Scott is. But what I'm saying is we're starting to see political leaders already starting to push the same thing. And this is, again, a post regarding this whole Turkish thing, and Ursula von der Leyen, it says, and this happens at the very moment Netanyahu is escalating his campaign against Turkey. How Turkey can be seen as a greater threat than Israel by the majority of Europeans is a mystery. This is liberal nationalism laying bare its entrenchment and its clash of civilization's logic. Is this true, guys? Again, please let me know in the comments. Is it true how Turkey can be seen as a greater threat than Israel by the majority of Europeans? Is this actually true? Do the majority of Europeans actually see Turkey as a threat? You know that ridiculous Zionist meme, like the Israeli mob, they love tossing this meme. It's one of the most ridiculous ones I see on social media. And it's a meme of a wall, like a dam. And it's a concrete dam or a stone dam, and behind it is a ton of water. And then there's a village on the other side of the dam. And the dam says like Israel, and then the water says Islamic jihad, and then the town is European civilization, and it's a Zionist meme, and they're basically saying Israel is basically the last thing protecting Europe from Islamic jihad. That's the meme. You've probably seen it. It's like a little cartoon image that they share, this ridiculous thing they share. It's the most ridiculous meme, but I will. What is accurately the meme is if you put Turkey as the barrier and you put refugees on the other side, and then you put Europe, because all the data shows that if it wasn't for Turkey, if Europe thinks it has a refugee crisis now, they should be so grateful that Turkey is absorbing that amount of refugees it's absorbing and doing all it can for migration. They state it publicly. I mean, the EU spokesperson, after trying to save face, stated, oh yeah, it's good for migration. And now all of a sudden, we're seeing this anti-Turk sentiment. A population of 7 million Israeli Jews, 7 million, are convincing a population of over what? How many Christians are there in the world? How many Christians are there in the world? Like 3 billion or something? How many Europeans are there in the world? Billions. A population of 7 million Israeli Jews is successfully convincing a population of, 2 to 3 billion European Christians that the problem is 3 billion Muslims? A population of 7 million is trying to put another population of 2 billion into war with another population of 2 to 3 billion. Is that really what's going on here? And the population of 2 billion is deciding to go to war against another population equally its size for a country, a population of 7 million. And they're successful in convincing you that this is the right way forward. We're lost. We've lost the plot. So anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you found it interesting, I'd appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button as well. Also, if you want to support my channel, one of the best ways you could do that is by joining as a member. So make sure to click the join button below next to the subscribe button. If you see those people with the John F. Kennedy emoji or the parrot emoji or the censored emoji, you can use those emojis if you join as a member. So if you see people with that in the comments, I made those emojis and you could just add them on. They're kind of fun. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.